Good morning, everybody. This is Pat Jones. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of IBTTA, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the IBTTA webinar, Communicating and Marketing for All Electronic Toll Collection. As we begin, I want to acknowledge Rachel Bell of the Kansas Turnpike Authority, who is chair of IBTTA's Communications Committee, who helped coordinate the participants for today's webinar. Rachel and the committee are responsible for planning and organizing the series of 4 webinars we're offering this year. The next and final webinar will be on October 30th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's titled Unrealistic or Not, Here They Come. Communication is the first step in meeting customer expectations. Right now we have about 50 people on the line. Before we get started, we have a couple of promotional announcements. First, we want you to know that registration is open for IBTTA's 80th Annual Meeting and Exhibition, September 9 through 12, at the Hilton Bonnet Hotel in Orlando, Florida. You can make your hotel reservations before August 14th at ibtta.org/Orlando. Registration is also open for the Maintenance and Roadway Operations Workshop, October 14 through 16, at the Westin Hotel in Kansas City. We'll be doing another community service project at this event, at this meeting, so check out ibtta.org/Kansas City for details. We also want you to know that we have just posted the thematic report from the All Electronic Toll Collection Summit that we just recently had in Atlanta. You can find that on the IBTTA website, on past events, and the thematic report appears under the AET Summit in Atlanta. IBTTA has a new rejuvenated blog. You can find that by going to our web page and clicking on the Advocacy tab. And you can also stay connected to IBTTA through a number of social media links that are connected to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn from IBTTA's main web page. So, the process today. We are pleased to have 3 highly regarded transportation industry professionals as our presenters. They'll each speak for about 10 to 12 minutes, and after all have presented, we will have Q&A. We'll be monitoring questions throughout the presentations, but will not address them until the end. You should see a questions dialog box on your right-hand screen that can also be minimized. The orange arrow will allow you to control that box. Please feel free to submit questions at any time, and we will address the questions at the end. Also, when you submit a question, please say who the question is directed to as part of your question. If we have any questions that are unanswered at the end of today's session, we will post the questions and answers to the website after today's presentation. We will also be posting the slides and audio portion of this presentation on our website by the end of today. Well, let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce you to your presenters, Sue Charzan, Michael Gentry, and Kim Polton. Sue has over 20 years' experience in all aspects of communications. She is the communications manager for the Tampa-Hillsborough County Expressway Authority. Sue is a 2011 graduate of IBTTA's Leadership Academy, and in fact, helped teach a portion of the session, the media session, when a speaker canceled. Our second presenter is Mike Gentry. He joined the North Carolina Department of Transportation in 2010 as the Director of Marketing for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. Under his responsibility, Mike is marketing the state's first modern toll road system under the brand name NC Quick Pass. Prior to joining North Carolina DOT, Mike held several sales and marketing roles in the information technology, consumer products, advertising, and pharmaceutical industries. Our third presenter is Kim Polton. Kim is the Director of Communications and Marketing for Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. She led the team that delivered the Turnpike's successful communication effort for the conversion to all electronic tolling in Miami. A South Florida Business Journal up-and-comer award winner, she's an active member of the Junior League of Boca Raton and a graduate of Leadership Florida. So, Sue Charzan is our first presenter. Sue, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pat. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to be able to speak to you today. I've been asked to talk to you about our conversion to all electronic tolling, which we did in September of 2010. We converted our entire expressway. We have 15 miles, including 10 miles of reversible express lanes, which I'll get to in a minute. My role today is to talk to you about how we communicated our conversion to regular customers, pretty much everyday users. As you can see, we have a substantial commuter base with over 92% of people who use the expressway more than 5 times per week, and a pretty good percentage of customers using SunPass, which is Florida's transponder. In addition, we also had to replace the electronic and cash equipment in our lanes. And why would we build more SunPass lanes when we could just convert to gantries? Because it's safer. And of course, it's more expensive to collect the cash. We were spending approximately 50% of our budget to collect less than 1/4 of our revenue. And finally, in 2007, we opened the world's first, and as far as I know, the world's only, all-electronic reversible toll lanes. And this was the pilot program for video tolling for Florida Turnpike Enterprise. The only way to use these lanes was either with a SunPass or a prepaid video toll account. So our customers were used to, or at least getting used to, all-electronic tolling. We had some general goals. Even though we are a commuter base of customers, we also needed to let the general public know about the conversion. And so our goals were to basically get across to the public and to our users how this agency was going to convert, both the physical side of it, how toll booths were coming down, and the customer service side of it, how we would bundle tolls, send a monthly bills, and that sort of thing. We also needed to increase our SunPass usage because it was critical to maintain the differential in the price for video tolling. If we send out more video bills, that means it's a higher cost to collect, and perhaps we might even need to do a toll increase. So we wanted to keep that SunPass usage. We wanted to increase it to 80%. We wanted to reduce the public relations issues. I didn't want anybody saying that they wanted their toll booths back. And for me, I didn't want any accidents after the conversion. I had heard such horror stories, and we had a couple of places that we weren't going to be able to get the toll plazas demolished right away. So for me, I was really concerned about that. So for some of the campaign highlights, we conducted pre- and post-campaign research to develop our key messages and creative elements. We produced a video and microsite, and we strategically placed media using radio, print, and online. And of course, we also used the road. For our surveys, our cash customers, we did 10,000 surveys, and we distributed them through the toll booths, and we posted it online. And the questions were focused around toll usage, SunPass services, and we used these to identify quantitative data that we helped apply to our overall campaign. We did 3 intercept surveys where we talked to people on the street, and we had about 400 people complete that. And again, we wanted to know about how they use the road, if they use the road, and that sort of thing. And then we also did focus groups. One of the things we asked them was what to call it, because there's a lot of different variations out there: open road, cashless, no cash tolls, all electronic. And we settled on all electronic because if you put cash in it, the people that we asked thought that you didn't have tolls at all. And then for us, one of the most important questions was, have you heard of the Selman Expressway? That we were rebranding, and we really wanted to know the answer to that because our road is known by a couple of different names. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the creative that we used, if it will change. We used our Hall of Famer, Leroy Selman, who is also the person our expressway is named after. And we did video, microsite, radio, print, and online, expressway signage, toll booth flyers, direct mail, live radio remotes with a street busker. Basically, he was singing a song about the expressway. It's kind of fun. We did meetings with editorial boards and desk side briefings, radio, and broadcast. And our research told us that we needed to make the signage that was on the road and that we handed out at the toll booths very, very simple. So we used the colors of FDOT signs and did our expressway signage in those colors. And again, basically a very simple message: we're getting ready to convert, pay attention. And what we found was, while this worked for a while, people got used to it, so we changed the colors to purple, which was a good thing because that's our expressway colors, and it's still simple messages. And on the toll booth signage at the bottom, this one was a huge one that went all the way across the toll plaza. And I have to give kudos to Cindy Polo from NBX because we changed our message from don't stop to keep moving, because her experience showed that when you put don't stop up, people read only the stop part of the sign. For our radio, print, and online, we did get a lot of media coverage, but this is what we bought. And the Street Busker was basically, they did remotes from wherever, different places. Hooters was one of them. And we got a lot of exposure during those purchases. For public relations, we secured a lot of media. We went to over 80 businesses and civic groups, and we delivered 30 presentations to just basically businesses. And we increased our social media over the months leading up into the conversion. Now, we did our pre-campaign research, which asked the questions, have you heard of the Selman Expressway? And 80% said no. They probably had heard of the Crosstown, but we wanted to rebrand it. So before the campaign, 80% had not heard of the Selman Expressway, but after the campaign, 97% had heard of the Selman Expressway. So for us and the rebranding, that was critical. With our SunPass usage, before we had 58% that did not have a SunPass in our questions. When we asked at the end of the campaign, we had only 37% that did not have. 63% had gone out, had purchased it, and most of them purchased the new sticker tags that we had. And we could see that the SunPass usage was expanding because we were able to track the SunPass sales. Cheryl, can you advance it for me? Thank you. We were able to track the SunPass sales, and we converted on September 17th, and you can see that in the Hillsborough County and surrounding counties, we saw a definite uptick in the SunPass sales. Even Hernando County, all the way at the bottom, which doesn't touch Hillsborough County and certainly doesn't touch our expressway, had a little bit of a bump. We also wanted to know about the ad campaign, and our question was, did you recall the ad campaign? And 81% said yes, they did. But the interesting part, although 80% of the respondents said they remember the campaign, when they were asked where they saw what they saw, 58% said they heard it on radio, which is good because we bought a lot of radio. But 50% said that they saw it on television, which is extremely good because we didn't buy one TV spot. We did do a lot of media relations, editorial board meetings, and desk side briefings with all of the newspapers and television stations in the area. The executive director, Joe Wagner, and I made sure that we answered every interview request no matter what time or where it was, and that includes 4 o'clock in the morning. We also had one billboard, and it was a digital billboard donated by Clear Channel. And clearly the broadcast stories helped, and the drive time radio helped. One of the questions that were always asked in communications is, what was the budget? We had $300,000, and this is the percentage of where that money went. The public relations budget included an 8-month-long campaign of calling and arranging speaking opportunities for us, and the miscellaneous includes shipping gift cards and things like that. And we exceeded our conversion rate by 4%, bringing the SunPass usage to 84%. We achieved more than 8.5 million media impressions, and we increased the Selman Expressway awareness. And finally, we had no accidents during the conversion. So the conversion campaign was a success, but just because the conversion is over doesn't mean the communications with your customers is complete. A couple of things that we did to help mitigate customer issues going forward is we put signs at all of the entrances to the expressway. Before, there weren't signs that indicated you were entering a toll road, but these new signs say SunPass or we bill you with toll by plate, and there's also huge signs at each tolling point. I have photos of each sign, so when a customer service representative receives a complaint that there were no signs on the road, which we do, I can send pictures of every sign that the customer saw on their trip, and I've had to do that many times. We also put the price of sending out the toll bill in the differential that the customer sees on the road. In other words, we don't add an administrative fee. I know most other tolling agencies do add the admin fee, but I think it helps when people say they didn't know it was a toll road, that you're simply charging them the toll and nothing more for the first invoice. And then we have been extremely customer friendly. As we've gone through each stage from the original billings to collections, the communications with the customers, the customer service reps, and the home office staff becomes critical. and for me, more one-on-one. So for us, the conversion campaign was a success, and that's my take on getting information out to your regular commuter-based customers. So now I'm going to turn it over to Michael, and he's going to talk to you about brand new stuff.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here this morning to share with you not conversion as my colleague Sue was talking about, but to boldly go where no toll road has gone before. For those of you who are tuning into this broadcast and are contemplating a greenfield all-electronic tolling project for your state, I hope that some of the marketing initiatives that we implemented will be helpful for you. I'm going to talk to you about our objectives, our overarching strategy, some of the tactics we employed, and share with you some results along the way. The products that we have are the Triangle Expressway, North Carolina's first modern toll road, and the NC Quick Pass transponder program. Our ultimate goal is to show the citizens of North Carolina how to get from here with all of this congestion to here with a stress-free commute, vis-a-vis this beautiful, almost 20-mile stunning highway called the Triangle Expressway, situated in the heart of Research Triangle. Research Triangle encompasses Raleigh-Durham, Research Triangle Park, as well as Chapel Hill. Unlike the Silicon Valley of California, the Research Triangle is among an elite group of advanced technology regions here in America. With any good marketing campaign and strategy, it's important, first of all, you want to hire a good advertising agency that is well equipped with understanding the latest technology in terms of how to reach your target audience. And of course, you want them to be able to develop good creative. We did post and or pre and post launch market research, and we found that our target audience, if you could go back one slide, please. We found that our target audience here in the Raleigh-Durham area are adults between the ages 25 and 54 with an average household income of $75,000. And we learned that they're wired. In other words, they're technologically savvy, and their preferred media preferences are these 6 that are listed here. So as a result, we implemented our marketing strategy utilizing this medium. Introducing tolling to a state for the first time requires a communication strategy that manages public reaction as well as the political, financial, legal, and operational ramifications of each decision. So it's important to make sure that we gain acceptance with all the key stakeholders, build awareness because it is a brand new facility, a brand new program. Educating the public is paramount, and certainly we want to drive them to our website for more information and ultimately to sell transponders and encourage usage. Our overarching strategy is to keep all stakeholders informed at every stage of the project. This picture here is our own illustrious Secretary of the Department of Transportation here in North Carolina, Mr. Gene Conti. Some of the tactics that we employed even before we broke ground were to conduct public workshops throughout the region, educating the public about this new project, the benefits and the advantages it will bring to North Carolina. We had our grand opening of our customer service center during the first phase of our project in December of last year. It drew a lot of attention. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony then, and we opened up our second phase, the second segment of the Triangle Expressway, actually today, with another ribbon cutting. We sponsored and conducted 2 5K races known as the Triangle Expressway Trot, one last year and one this year, where we had over 1,000 runners and generated over $40,000 for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It also drew a lot of media attention, and it enabled our customers to run the road before they drove it. Community outreach is another critical factor in opening up a new toll road in your area. We did chamber events, community festivals, sporting events. We visited the top employers within our region and gave workshops for their employees, which again leveraged quite a bit of media attention. And I also want to give kudos to the Department of Transportation here in North Carolina's Communication Office, our own internal PR folks, and they did a great job in helping to leverage that as well, along with some other strategic marketing activities. I want to share with you now some of the elements of the creative that we produced, from traffic radio to geo-targeted online advertising in the form of banner ads and mobile ads, our email marketing, and then offline initiatives by way of direct mail, gas station signage, print advertising, and of course we also created a virtual tour which enabled customers to be able to experience the road at the convenience of their desktop computer. For the sake of time, it's a 3-minute video, but I want to encourage the viewers to go to YouTube after this webinar. If you want to take a look at our virtual tour, just type in Triangle Expressway virtual tour and you'll be able to view that. Our project opened up in 3 phases, so obviously our media plan went the same way. With our grand opening, our activity was very heavy and consistent. As we moved closer to today's opening of the second phase of our project, the activity was lighter, but now as we move towards the completion of the project with phase 3 later this year, that activity and momentum will build and become heavier and consistent. Our traffic radio spots aired during the peak times of rush hour with 15-second spots, one of which I'd like to share with you now. I think we're having a little technical difficulty here in launching that. Anyway, could we go back to that slide if we're able to launch that audio? If not, we can move forward. That's fine. I think that we're having some technical difficulty there. We'll go forward. But anyway, that traffic spot, this is an example of the performance of our radio during one of our weeks. We had reached almost 90% of our audience, had high gross rating points, as well as our frequency, which is far and above the industry standard in terms of radio performance. Our digital campaign also featured pre-road video and banner ads. These are some of the outlets where we executed that campaign.
Drive smart and get back to your life faster with the Triangle Expressway and NC Quick Pass, now open from RTP to A.
And overall, our digital online campaign had high click-through rates and delivered 5.2 million impressions. Those click-through rates are 7 times that of the industry average, which really spoke strong of that online performance. Here are some samples of that internet advertising at some of the local news websites. This is some of the mobile activity that folks found on their cell phones. The one here on the right is an actual homepage of ncquickpass.com. Another example through Pandora, which is a popular medium for our target audience. Forbes magazine, geo-targeted to the Triangle area. AccuWeather. And of course another local news channel. Turning to our offline campaign, these are examples of the creative for it. Oversized door hangers as well as direct mail pieces that went out, and we were able to hit over 192,000 households. I mentioned print advertising in some of the local major newspapers, and here's a sample of that ad. gas station signage by way of gas pump toppers as well as field boards. They were delivered at gas stations strategically located in high traffic areas, allowing us to target by zip code. And there are restricted areas in some places where outdoor mobile is not available. So we took advantage of a program where delivery trucks that are part of that saturated certain targeted zip codes within our area, delivering over 11 million impressions over a 12-week period. And all of that wonderful creative, as well as the earned media that we had, allowed us to get off to a great start. Again, this is just our first toll road here in North Carolina, and we've sold over 23,000 transponders today. And it's interesting to note that our initial forecast by June of this year was to only sell 2,700. So we've almost sold 10 times as many, which speaks to the concerted effort of all functional areas here at the North Carolina Turnpike, not just with marketing, but finance, engineering, operations, and of course our board of directors. That completes my presentation. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague from Florida's Turnpike, Kim Polton. Kim?
Thank you, Michael. Slide, please. What we did is what you heard a lot of what Sue and Michael talked about. We did the same thing for our commuters, and what I am going to talk to you about this morning is strictly what we did for visitors. There's significant tourism market here in Florida, and other states you might not have as many tourists as we do, but you might look at it from a little bit of a different look, such as you may have pass-through traffic or whatnot. And we also coordinated very closely here in Florida with Cindy Polo down at MDX and with Sue in Tampa. They were gracious in sharing some of their lessons learned and best practices with us when we move forward. Slide, please. Here is a map of, this is the southwest Miami-Dade area, and we converted 47 miles of this area in February of 2011 into all electronic. And this route is significant in that it services the whole southwest Miami-Dade area, but it also is the major road that everyone takes to get down to the Florida Keys. So that means lots of tourists. And before launching this AET campaign, we were at about 70% of SunPass participation. And after, or right before we launched, we had it up to 85%. Slide. Slide, please. Now, the first thing we did as soon as we made this decision is we contacted our statewide tourism agency, which for us is called Visit Florida. And this was about a year and a half out from when we actually did our conversion. And from there, we presented and made contact with all of the South Florida city and county tourism boards and met with them as well to explain exactly what we were doing and how it was going to benefit drivers and address some of their concerns. The Florida Keys expressed serious concern when we first talked to them about this, so they were ones that we really concentrated heavily on. And for all, we wanted to make sure that they understood exactly that we were fully committed to making this happen as successfully with the least amount of negative impact on tourists as possible. And you see here the prominence of the Keys. They were wonderful with us. They had it on their homepage, actually, of their website. Slide, please. Slide, please. Now, the next call that we made was to AAA. You do not have enough time or money to reach out to everyone that you need to, who's your potential customer, anybody that could possibly come from someplace else to drive on your road. So we met with AAA, and again, they were great partners with us. And as you can see here, prior to us converting, probably about a year out, they started printing all of their triptychs to Miami or the Keys that had this advisory on it that said effective early 2011, Turnpike Enterprise will eliminate cash toll collections, and gave our website for them to visit. And then also now, it's, as Sue said, it's forevermore. So now they have a post message there that they tell everyone that we no longer accept cash, and here's how to find out how to pay. And AAA also printed a story for us in their travel magazine. Slide, please. Now, one of the most important things for us was we created an all-electronic microsite, and we sent everybody and everything here to this microsite. We felt that this was very much a visual story to explain to people. It's very new, so we felt that if we showed a video showing people what it was going to look like with no toll booths and what their options were for paying. We also prepared what we call our blurb with a link to our microsite, and we tried to get it on as many businesses' websites as we possibly could. And we really had a lot of cooperation with people helping to get this message out. We provided this to chambers, hotel associations, the attraction associations, because our feeling was that people may not come to the Turnpike website, but they would probably go to their hotel website or where they were, the attraction they were going to go visit, and under their getting there, they would put this blurb in our message. And our microsite continues to get between 55,000 and 70,000 hits a month just on this portion of the website alone. Slide, please. Now, we did an incredible amount of outreach. We presented to every chamber in the South Florida area as well as the Florida Keys, and I was probably in the Keys once a week, and somebody had to do it, so I figured it might as well be me. We also went and met with the hotel associations so that they understood. At first, they didn't understand how this was going to impact them, and their executive director had seen me present in another meeting, and it worked very well because we got a lot of the hotels then to participate with us. And some actually asked us to put our video up on YouTube. At first we had it embedded in our website, but we put it up on YouTube because they wanted to train their staff and use that video to train their front desk people or whatnot so they could answer questions for customers. We also had done several email blasts out to national travel agencies and trucking associations as well. Slide, please. Now, one thing that's very, very important when you have visitors into your area, obviously, is going to be your rental car companies. And we already had our third-party vendors working with us probably 2 years out before we did this conversion. But it's very important to work with them because they must train their frontline staff and explain how this works for them to offer this to customers. We have them, as you can see on the left there, that is a pop-up sign that they have at one of the rental car agencies. And then there on the right, we went a step above and beyond, and we partnered with Miami Airport and the Fort Lauderdale Airport to get them to put these signs up as a PSA, and it says, toll roads in Miami do not take cash. Ask your car rental agent how to pay. So at least people have a little bit of an idea before they get there to maybe ask their agent, what's going on with toll roads. Slide, please. And don't forget your service plazas to utilize these because most of the people that stop at your service plazas are your distance travelers. And what we did is we purchased these display units that you can change the posters out on, and it also is accompanied with a brochure rack below that we printed our brochures in both English and Spanish. And we were able to see there on the left, that's our pre-message to get people's attention. It says driving to Miami or the Keys, have a map there and give them some information. And then the post sign has been changed out to the one that you see on the right. And you notice that we had different themes. We had a green and yellow theme, our SunPass colors, and then we switched to a burgundy theme once we did implement. Slide, please. Now, one thing that's really important, you can tell people all this, but sometimes you have to ask people to help you spread the word or they don't think about it. So what we did is we put a story on our SunPassages e-newsletter, which goes out to about 2 million SunPass customers, and we told them, please tell your visiting relatives or family or friends that are coming here that this is a new way of paying tolls in Miami. And we actually had many people that actually reprinted this story verbatim in blogs and newsletters throughout the U.S., Canada, that we know that we track. Slide, please. Now, while you still have your toll booths, use them. What we did is you can do flyers, very inexpensive. You can print up a lot of them for very little amount of money. And what we did is we passed them out at our toll booths for our cash customers, and they were aimed at most of our holidays, like your regular Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July holidays. But what we also did is we targeted major events in Miami and the Keys the year before, and we passed out these flyers. Such for us down here, lobster mini season is huge in July, and Fantasy Fest down in October in Key West, and there's a big NASCAR Homestead race right on the Homestead extension. So what we did is our message was, when you come back next year for this event, there are no longer going to be toll booths, and here are your options of how to pay your tolls. So, and like people, the NASCAR races, they actually had all of our information on all of their websites and all of their literature on people to get there. Next slide, please. Also, your travel publications, we sent a national press release out to everything from RV, motorcycle pubs, airline magazines, and also don't forget your travel books, your Fedoras, your Frommers, your Lonely Planets, to put in their Getting There section. Slide, please. And here's a sample of our pre-AET message billboards that were actually on our road, as well as upstream from actually getting to this section. And the Keys actually had done a survey as soon as we opened up, and with their visitor centers. And actually we had people that told us that they felt 74% of people felt it was more convenient once we did go to all electronic, and 95% of people said that they felt like it saves time. So we were effective in getting that message out for them. Next slide, please. And as Sue said, AET is forevermore. Once you convert, you convert it. It's not just a campaign. You need to keep reaching out to people and educating people. And I have a joke that I say, as soon as New York and New Jersey converts, we'll be good and everybody will know. But until that time, we still have a lot of education to do, because you have visitors, you have new people every day, every week, every month that come in to visit. So since we've launched, we have done a couple of promotions. We had done a Radio Disney promotion where we partnered with Disney, and they had 30 events that we partnered with them in the top 7 cities of where our visitors originate from, which is New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, Boston. And they would pass out our flyers with information, getting them to our website, whatnot, and that's been very successful for us. With that particular program, we had 1.2 million impressions with an estimated attendance of 425,000 people throughout other, and again, we weren't able to attend any of these because they were all out of state. We also had done a Google research campaign from February to May, where when you would put in certain search words, we would have an ad that would pop up to the side, and we had 16 million impressions with that. And you heard Michael talk about a click-through rate, and that click-through rate here we had was 0.37. So that was fairly strong for us. Slide, please. And there are current billboards. Again, from now on, now that the cash lanes have gone away, SunPass is the best way to pay. And probably one of my favorite quotes through all of this is, as I said, the Keys was they were very, very concerned about this. And when we presented about 3 or 4 months after we converted, we presented to the Visit Florida board, and the chairman looked at the executive director of the Keys and said, well, Mr. Executive Director, you were the one that had the most heartburn over this. How was it? And he said, they did an excellent job. They were extremely easy to work with, and really, really went above and beyond to make sure that people knew. So he said, congratulations and thank you. So we still continue to work with them to this day. So that's it. I guess we're ready for questions.
Kim, thank you very much, and thanks to you, Sue, and Mike for 3 excellent presentations. And now we're going to the questions from our listeners. And the first question is addressed to all of you, and I think we'll ask Sue to go first, then Mike and Kim. The question has to do with media inquiries. What preparations have you made for the onslaught of media inquiries when customers run to them complaining that they never got a bill and now they're being charged fines or fees? Because the notion is the media tends to take the side of the consumer, feeling sorry for them. What preparations have you made, and what costs do you anticipate in responding to these media inquiries? Sue, let's start with you.
Okay, Kat. We have gotten some media inquiries, and I think the preparation begins with how you handle customers in the first place. We have a very customer-friendly approach. We bundle the tolls. We send a monthly bill, and we give them 30 days to pay, plus a 10-day grace period, but don't tell them that. And so it's over 90 days and 3 times that we have tried to contact people. And then also, when I do get a request, we go through and do the due diligence on exactly what happened. Most of the time, the customer has not kept up their end of the bargain. They have not kept their registration and their driver's license address up to date. So I think if you can present all of the information to the, at least in my experience, by presenting all of the information to the reporter, it tends to mitigate the story. We have not, knock on wood, had a bad story yet, but we are just now in the collection phase of our all-electronic tolling. And as far as the cost for that, you're always going to have cost. We try never to write off a toll, but we will write off fees and fines. But the general rule is we don't write off tolls. So, Michael?
Thanks, Sue. Actually, I couldn't add much more to what she described. We actually have a very similar process. Certainly want to make sure whatever the issue is that it's fully understood, oftentimes from a case-by-case basis. Our customer service center is extremely dedicated to ensuring that our customers are aware. We do have, as she had mentioned, 30, 60, 90-day periods of time where they are informed that this toll is outstanding. There are fines that are applied to those invoices to give them further attention, and we pretty much manage it in a very similar fashion. And as a result, we haven't had a lot of really huge issues here in our backyard.
Yeah, this is Kim. I would probably agree with that. I mean, what we did before we even kicked this off is we worked heavily with our regular transportation riders to educate them to what we were doing, and they understood and they explained it fairly well. I think we probably had more complaints about the rental car issues because of fees. If we were to get anything, it was usually about the rental cars. We have had a few where people have ignored their fines and they escalate, and if it's something that is within reason, we will dismiss it. We'll do the right thing. And I think, dealing with your reporters, if you let them know that you do the right thing and explain to them, people can go to reporters and say whatever they want, which they do. The first complaints I got, and that was all over our call center, but then I would see the whole list. Well, this is what the customer didn't tell you. So, I don't think the media has been pretty fair with us, but we really haven't had a big onslaught of negative publicity with this at all.
All right, very good. Thanks to all of you. The next question has to do with expenditures. Could you give us an estimate of the total marketing expenditures for these campaigns? Let's start with Sue.
My campaign for the original conversion was $300,000, and again, it's continuing on. So whatever my marketing budget is, which is usually around $150,000, some of that goes towards more electronic tolling messaging. Michael?
What I shared with you for our campaign was $500,000, including creative development.
With us, on any given year, ours vacillates up and down. I've probably spent between $1 million and $2 million. That's everything. And again, I have to educate the whole state, so I have to go in different markets, not just one market. And again, for us with the tourism, we've I think we spent. I think each campaign we did with Disney was about $350,000, and we did a couple of those campaigns. The Google advertising has actually been very, we were really smart with that, about all the impressions that we got and whatnot. I think we only pay per click, and I can't think off the top of my head exactly how much we spent on that. But that's something that I would take a look at, because it's very economical to do.
Very good. Thank you very much. Here is a question specifically for Sue and Mike. How far in advance did your campaign start before the AET conversion? Sue, let's start with you.
Okay. We started with our public relations campaign about a year out. So we started talking to the chambers and talking to businesses and stuff. But as far as the actual media and really ramping it up, we only went about 2 weeks out because people have a short attention span. And again, talking to other people, we realized that the closer you are to your actual conversion date, the more people will pay attention. And since we did have a specific date and time that we were doing it, we chose to start our media about 2 weeks out. Michael?
Yes. With our project, we're starting off completely all electronic, so it wasn't a conversion process at all. Every toll road in North Carolina will be completely all electronic. So folks will just drive normal highway speeds, and that their tolls will be collected electronically, or they'll get a bill in the mail vis-a-vis our high-speed cameras to their license plate being matched to the DMV record. Insofar as our campaign, I talked very specifically about the public workshops, and even before we broke ground, even like 5 years out, when the Turnpike was established, we began educating the public about this project. And then as we draw closer, I was brought on board 2 years ago in 2010, developing our marketing campaign. We started doing, again, the public workshops within the top employer groups, began developing our creative in terms of our radio spots and other written and offline collateral. We held back on our television. We won't actually be, even though we developed the commercials, we won't actually be executing those until fourth quarter of this year. Once the project is complete, we know that TV spending can be a high cost, and so senior management, it was a prudent decision to hold off on that spend until later this year. So it's been a gradual process with different elements being executed along the way.
Great, thanks, Michael. Kim, here's a question for you. How did you roll out e-tags to car rental companies, and how did they deal with their frequently changing fleet?
That is all done through our third party. We've got 3 third-party vendors, so we really do not do that. And not all of them have actual transponders in their car. What most of them do is supply us with their license tag numbers, and then we bill off the license tag numbers with those. But again, that's all taken care of through the third-party vendor. We do not do that directly.
All right, thank you. Here's a question for all, and it has to do with the use of community dignitaries or influencers. Did any of you use, sort of respected individuals in the communities as spokespeople or spokesmodels or, visual poster people for the AET campaign? Let's start with you, Sue.
For us, we did, because it was very easy. Mr. Selman, who was the first Bucks player and the first Bucks Player Hall of Fame, it was a very easy tie-in because the Expressway is named for him. So we did have that, but as far as having the mayor or, a elected official dignitary, we didn't put any of them on the spot. We went to each and every one of them and explained exactly what we were doing and how it was going to work and the customer friendliness of it. But our spokesperson was Mr. Selman.
Mike, how about you?
No, we didn't have a specific spokesperson. That may be something we could leverage as we go forward with opening new projects. We do have supporters within our legislature and throughout our government, local leaders and community business folks where meetings are held and we're talking about mobility within our region. They certainly air their support for tolling in North Carolina, as well as other initiatives beyond tolling that the Department of Transportation are considering. And so we take advantage of those opportunities as well. Our secretary is very hands-on in terms of, if he's out and about and the subject comes up, being able to further give us that support at that level.
Okay, great. Thank you. How about Kim? How about you?
No, we did not. Actually, we had done some research when we first kicked off our marketing department back 10 years ago. We had done some research, and actually it did not resonate with people through our research to have any type of spokesperson, celebrity or whatever. What we did is, I think, you kind of look at who are the people that could come out against you, that it could be, negative. And I think for us, that was certainly, tourism. Still, we're working on opening up all electronic further north in the next couple of years. And usually any elected officials, that's the first question they ask is, well, what are you doing for tourism? So I'd say for us, it was kind of focusing on leaders, on explaining it to them firsthand so they didn't read something in the paper and misunderstand it. That's probably your key, is, let your influencers know what it is and they can help you spread the word. And if they buy into it and understand that this is a good thing, that it's safer, that it's going to save time, once you explain all that, then they kind of get on board. And when you tell them, too, that you've got 85% of people with SunPass already in their cars, they kind of relax a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Kim. Sue, here's a question for you. You mentioned that people were getting used to the color of the signs, and so that they were no longer visible to their customers. How long did it take, after you changed the colors of the sign before they were no longer sort of like invisible to them?
Well, it took probably a couple months for me to realize that our customers were not seeing the signs anymore. So it's usually about 3 months that they were up that we changed them so that they had a different message on them, and then we changed the color so that the color was bright and people are used to seeing green signs on the roadway. They're not necessarily used to seeing purple signs. So that was a good thing. But it took about 3 months for people to get used to that and not read it anymore.
Sue, thank you very much. Mike, here's a question for you. You mentioned that you had two products, or you designated two products, the road itself and the transponder. The questioner wants to know, was it hard to market the road as a product itself?
No, actually, I think that might be the easier of the two, knowing that, those in the region are seeing construction taking place in their backyards. Obviously, they're curious about that. To focus solely on the transponder program itself, when, in a state that's never had a toll road before, it's kind of a disconnect for perhaps our secondary market. Our primary market, it was a given. A lot of these folks were very toll friendly. They came, they migrated from areas where there are toll facilities, and they're used to like easy pass in the Northeast. And so the concept of a transponder or a pass to save on your tolls wasn't new to them. The general public, though, we had to educate them more on what that meant and what all electronic tolling was and how it worked. And we developed videos and so forth to show them, exactly how that would happen. And so it was important early on for us to make sure that we went arm in arm in marketing both the road itself as a product, branding it as Triangle Expressway, though it does have the nickname Tri-X here in the area, as well as our transponder program. So the two go hand in hand.
All right, thank you very much. Here's another question for all of the participants. Knowing that that projects like AET can slip their go-live date, how is your campaign developed to be able to adjust to a change in the go-live date in the event that the project was delayed? Let's start with Sue, and then Mike and Kim.
Well, everybody knew that I would beat them if they did not meet the goal rate. Basically, our only other option was just to go to the media and tell them that we were, moving things back. We did have to push the actual timing back, but we didn't push the date back. So it was everybody working together, from our operations and maintenance director, who was in charge of the project, to the toll operations manager, and everybody just really working hard to make sure we met that date. It was made very clear from the beginning that this was something that they had to really keep. And the other thing was, we didn't let out a date until we were pretty sure. We said fall of 2010 for a while, and then we said September, October for a while, and then we finally narrowed it down to a date, probably about a month to 6 weeks out. Michael?
Yes, very, very similar, with the same departments involved with operations, toll operations, our engineering team. we knew from the very start you only get one chance to give a good first impression. You're bringing a new toll facility, a modern toll facility, into a state that has never had one. It's important to make sure that we're giving the best foot forward. And fortunately, we've been on time and under budget with our project. The only challenge we had, initially we were talking about opening in 2 phases. Although the time hasn't changed, we were always talking about the project being completed by the end of December 2012. However, we learned that we needed to, for a number of reasons, to open up in 3 segments. And so while we're still on time and on target, that was one bit of a challenge because we initially were communicating a 2-phase approach, and we had to change that to a 3-phase approach. But we've been very well in being able to communicate that. Even going back out into our public outreach programs and making sure everyone was clear on that as well, communicating it through the web, through the media, what have you. So it's been a good progress for us.
I think for us as well, I've been at this for 20 years, and it's a good question because, you know, construction can always be very tenuous. You just never know how much it's going to rain or problems you're going to run into. So if you noticed in the triptychs in the very beginning, we were doing that a year or so out. We talked about early 2011. So we basically did the same thing as what Sue and Michael did. And you know, we waited until we knew what our date was going to be. All of our billboards and whatnot said February 2011, and we did that specifically so that if we could not change the billboards right away, that it would say February 2011, and if you know they needed to stay up for a month or 2, that would still be a true statement. So we did pay attention to all those things, but as far as the construction, we did not actually announce a date until we knew what the date was going to be.
All right, very good. Well, we are coming up against our noon hour, so I just want to make a few final announcements and then thank our presenters. First, I want to remind you that the August 14 hotel deadline for Orlando annual meeting is coming up. We recommend that you get your rooms secured now and adjust your travel later. You don't want to be locked out of the hotel. But we would invite you to promote our Maintenance and Roadway Operations Workshop that's going to be hosted by the Kansas Turnpike Authority. Visit ibtta.org/Kansas City. Also, we invite you to visit our blog. If you have not done so already, you can find it on IBTTA's homepage and click the Advocacy tab. We also have a campaign for the toll industry LinkedIn group that talks about IBTTA's positioning campaign. We will send the unanswered questions to the panelists and post them on our website. We'll post the slides and the audio from this presentation on our website and by the end of the day. And again, I want to thank Sue Charzan, Michael Gentry, and Kim Polton for being our excellent panelists today. And thanks to Rachel Bell and all the members of IBTTA's Communications Committee for your support and leadership in these webinars. Thank you again for joining us today for this communication webinar. We hope to see you at IBTTA's annual meeting and other meetings along the way. Thanks again. This is Pat Jones from IBTTA saying goodbye and have a great day.